Welcome. This is the Little Feat Radio Show. And I'm just so happy that we could have our special guest here today, Mr. Bill Payne. Bill, why don't you say hello?
Hey, Red, how's everybody out there doing too? And how are you doing?
Doing great. Bill is the leader of Little Feat. He co-founded the band with Lowell George back in 1969. He has recorded 16 studio albums with Little Feat and nearly as many live albums, including Waiting for Columbus, recorded in 1977 and released in 1978. AllMusic.com calls Waiting for Columbus one of the greatest live albums ever. Bill is also now leading the band, and he's the principal songwriter, and his credits include Oh Atlanta, Time Loves a Hero, Red Streamliner, Tripe-Faced Boogie, and many more. Little Feat went back on the road in November with their By Request tour. Bill Payne, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
A real pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Bill, it really is an honor. I know that you've been doing quite a lot. The By Request tour, I think is starting up and pretty soon, right?
We're going out the 17th to Charleston. We'll have a couple of days of rehearsals, and then we'll play Charleston. We go into Florida. I'm going to personally shake DeSantis' hand down there and tell him what a fine job he's doing.
Very good. And then after that, you're still scheduled for the annual fan excursion in Jamaica from January 30th to February 5th.
Yes.
And
we're looking forward to that. Right now, all systems are go, and we're ready.
All right. And then after the By Request tour in March, starting in, of course, Columbus, Ohio. Gotta love that. The Waiting for Columbus tour.
Yes. Little Feat is back. We have a new band or a newer version of this group. I've been calling this Act 3, as in, I kind of defined Act 1 as when we were in Baltimore, Maryland, and when we did Feast Don't Fail Me Now.
Mm-hmm.
I could safely say that Act 2 was when we started up again for Let It Roll.
Mm-hmm.
There's all these things in between, such as this Waiting for Columbus. That's a focal point for us. But we weren't putting anything together. We were already there. I kind of define these acts when we do a wholesale change and begin to look at the landscape and see where we're going to go. And that includes management, the business part of it as much as anything.
Excellent. Before we get into what's coming up, and maybe I do want to hit on each of the three acts tonight. While you were talking, I did put a poll up for the people on Zoom. I'm asking to select a song. These options are, this is from phase 1, Little Feat in the 70s, of course, when you're playing with Lowell. We have Dixie Chicken from the Midnight Special, which is a short version. Rock and Roll Doctor from Electrif Lycanthrope, which you've just re-released, speaking of old recordings.
Right.
And of course, that's I'm just really pleased that you chose that one to be the first of your re-releases. It's a great recording. And then from the Old Gray Whistle Test, Fat Man in the Bathtub. So do you have a choice, Bill? I told Bill earlier, if he has really something he wants to see, we go with him. What
I had said earlier, everybody, is that generally I get to hear whatever I want, like you guys, whenever I want. So just you choose it. I look forward to hearing your response to what you want to hear.
It's a very close between Rock and Roll Doctor and Fat Man in the Bathtub. I'm closing the poll. If I got this right.
Rock and Roll Doctor's got it.
If you wanna feel real nice, that's the Rock and Roll Doctor's advice.
Yes, indeed. As Bill said, Act 1 of Little Feat. Bill, I know it's been a long time, but I do have a question for you. Maybe, do you have a memory of Lowell that you'd like to share with the group?
We used to hang out at Richie's. Richie lived right next to the Cock and Bull restaurant. They hang out in West Hollywood, right? And we'd look at the window where we gathered around his table, and Lowell would be pressed up right up against it. It scared the hell out of us. He had that side of him that was a practical joker, which we all loved. And very first time I went to his house, I'll segue into this real quick. I had written a note to Lowell, and I was supposed to meet him at his house. I showed up. There's this young lady. Doors are open. It's a rustic home, and she's listening to Eric Satie music, and oh, you must be Bill. Lowell's expecting you. He'll be back in about 4 hours. I go, what does he do when he's not expecting you?
Oh my goodness, that's great.
Yeah, that was good.
Well, I remember that whole era was just, I know you sometimes think it's a blur, but it really was a memorable act. And of course, when Lowell passed, the band split up for a little bit of time.
It was about a 10-year break, and we were all doing different things. I mean, I was out with TV Nicks, Blues. I don't know.
I got to actually, Bill. That was a leading question, because I do have a clip where I've taken a few of the bands that you've played with over the years, and we can talk about some of the things. Well, I have a list here that you've recorded 7 albums for Bob Seger, 5 with Bonnie Raitt, 5 with Jackson Browne, 6 with Emmylou Harris, 4 with Carly Simon, and of course you have Doobie Brothers, Linda Ronstadt, James Taylor, Jimmy Buffett, Robert Palmer, Nicolette Larson, Phil and Friends, Left Arrow Salmon, and many more. So let me get this going. So we'll just hear some of those people that you played with.
People asked me, they said, I forget his name, it was really smart. He said, won't you all start sounding alike within a few years? You know, I mean, if Jackson always uses the Eagles to sing on his record, and then I always sing on Little Feat's record, and Little Feat always plays on my record, or Robert Palmer always uses Little Feat, pretty soon we're all just going to sound like extensions of each other, and there won't be any, nobody will be able to tour unless you cut Billy Payne into 5 pieces, you know.
Somebody that I first heard playing piano when he was with a band called Little Feat. His name's Billy Payne.
Billy Payne. Tom Johnson. We're going to wind it up with a song written by Mr. Dickie Betts.
Oh my goodness, that's the short version of some of the people you've played with, Bill. Did you recognize any of it?
Thankfully, no.
I have one question about that last clip we saw. I know the second to last was, I think it might have been your first time playing with Scott Sherrard when he was with the Greg Allman Band. You were sitting
on a Doobie Brothers tour.
Yeah. And then, of course, the last one was the Doobie Brothers with China Grove. And were you actually on the original recording? Was that piano lick dun 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 dun? Was that you on the original recording?
Yes, it was.
Excellent. I love that lick, man.
Thank you.
Great job. So now that we've thrown a whole bunch of names out, I suspect you probably don't have a favorite, or maybe one that stands out that surprised you when you went to work with them that you really didn't.
Oof. Well, every one of them is a surprise. I mean, in the sense of this. How all this stuff fits together. The one that surprised me, at least from what you were playing, Bonnie Raitt's admonition of how we would all sound alike if I was playing every time with everybody.
They'd
good
clone
thing
you.
is- yeah, I think that we proved her not so much wrong as that there's an elasticity to how I fit in playing with people, which is why I'm still able to do it many years later than that quote you got from her. Because if in fact that were the truth, as there was a review of Dixie Chicken when we first put that album out, and they said every song sounds the same.
Oh
It was
my.
really crazy. Oh yeah, it was crazy. Well, because they were used to this eclectic, the first two albums, which were very eclectic, Little Feat and Sailing Shoes. So I always got a kick out of that. Like, or somebody the other day said, well, how can you play Dixie Chicken every night or every tour you go out and have it still sound fresh? And I said, well, you can build into the arrangement if you want, like a different intro, different solos, etc. But I said, it just occurred to me that how do we keep something like Happy Birthday fresh every year? We sing it 3 or 4 or 5 times a year. It's because it comes from the heart. That's how you do it. I'm sitting next to my piano here at my house, and this is one that one person you didn't have up there was Emmylou Harris. But this piano I'm sitting next to is a piano I played on the first couple of Emmylou Harris records, Boulder to Birmingham, and so that was a very cool thing.
Very good.
I love playing music. That's the other thing. I got a kick out of watching the antics that were going on stage with Leftover Salmon.
And that was only the second half of the solo. I just took a cliff.
Well, we played. There was one gig. It was at the Hamilton in Washington, D.C. And the tempo was just ridiculous. And I looked at him. I jumped off this rather short stage. It wasn't a very high stage, but I jumped into the arms of these beautiful women out there who caught me, and I fell back into a couple of them, and we were dancing, and then they pushed me back on stage, and I got up there just in time to hit the second time or the next time it came to my solo, and I was like, boom, right into it. I mean, you couldn't have choreographed it any better. So what I call serious fun, I want to have fun while I'm playing, but it is serious business. I'm 72 years old. I'll be 73 in about 2.5 months. And, other than the aches and pains that come with age, here playing wise, I don't feel a lot different than when I was playing in 1977.
Let's take it. We just did the 70s. I want to take it up to Act 2, if you don't mind. And I'm going to start a poll. And you should be seeing it soon. And this is, again, another Select a Song, because in Act 2, you played with Craig Fuller and Sean Murphy. And of course, we unfortunately had lost Richie in 2010. But I did select a few songs from those areas, which the choices are Cadillac Hotel from 1995, was the Tonight Show. Shake Me Up. This was a live version recorded in Jamaica in 2011. Time Loves a Hero. I think this was in Norway in 2009. And All That You Dream from 2010. I think I'm seeing a clear winner.
Man, that was terrific. I mean, that's a song that Bill Ray and I wrote. Sean Murphy sounded absolutely astonishing.
Great 4 minutes and 3 seconds of music, that's for sure.
Yeah, they really let us play. They did a wonderful mix on it. It doesn't always happen when you play television. So hats off on that mix and to that, for everybody for choosing that song. That was a really, that touched my heart.
Well, and it's great to see, of course, Sean sang really well. And great to, I love the videos that feature Richie, and I'm so glad that Tony is carrying that tradition on now. And of course, Miss Paul.
You had him on, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He studied Richie from about 12 years of age. He's 52 now, I believe. And just because you study someone doesn't mean you can play or emulate or do anything. But Tony's an exceptional musician. You really got to step up to the plate to try and meet where Richie is. Gabe Ford, I love Gabe. He played amazingly well for us for many, many years. I think Tony gives us a ramp to progress a little further which is really kind of what we all wanted. And
Well, can you maybe just circle back? And I know I asked you a little about something about a memory about Lowell. Could you maybe give us something about Richie as well? I heard something, you wrote something about a fireplace.
yeah, there was a fireplace at the very place I was mentioning earlier. It was next to the Cock and Bull restaurant. Again, this is in West Hollywood. So right off of Sunset Boulevard on Carroll Drive. Those apartments are no longer there. They were Spanish apartments. Richie always threatened to kick in the fireplace. And I said, well, Richie, you don't own this, your apartment here. Don't do that. And so this would go on for years with him. And so when they were finally tearing the place down, they tore into the fireplace and they found about, I'm going to say between $30,000 and $60,000 worth of silver certificates behind the very fireplace he wanted to knock in. And we were like, oh my God, we should have let him do it.
Oh my goodness. And my experience, of course, with Richie was he's just always a lot of fun. Another person that was from my perspective a lot of fun was Mr. Barrere, Paul Barrere. Could you maybe say something about Paul and maybe some fun time that you had together?
We had a lot of fun times, most of which I could not tell to this audience, but
that's what Kenny said.
Well, that's right. I mean, we were wild people back then in the day. But now, Paul, it was about he comes from came from a family of theatrical people. His mother and father were actors. But this is a story that he told me, so it wasn't. He said he was in the theater watching the remake of Psycho with his mom, and his mother gets brutally killed in it, and it shocked the hell out of Paul. And he looked at his mom and goes, "Mom, why didn't you tell me?" She goes, "I just want to see your reactions." So we were just, now, Paul had a great sense of humor. Anybody that comes into Little Feat that's a member of Little Feat has a very broad perspective of life, of humor, of music, a strata of music that selfishly, I want to keep this band going just because I'd have to, as you said earlier, be in 10 bands to play the breadth of music that we play. And I don't think you can fake that kind of thing with an audience or with yourself. Mm-hmm. So we've got this legacy that we adhere to that was developed when Lowell and I and Richie is before Roy, before any bass players came in. This thing was kind of set in a mix of let's keep it elastic. Do we need horns? Do we need another guitar player? Do you want to augment the keyboard section? Do we want to bring in extra writers? What do we want to do? And everything was always based on the music. It wasn't based on how do we look. I mean, I was looking at myself on that Jay Leno show and I was going, oh my gosh. I will never criticize anybody again for looking like anything.
Well, it's the fashion and the style and the times, of course.
It is.
But speaking of the times, I want to bring us up to Act 3 a little bit. But before we do that, I just want to say we've had quite a bit of chatting going on during that last song. I'm going to put it in gallery mode just so you can see everybody that's here with us right now. I know somebody asked before the show started, when are you going to go to Canada?
Yeah, me.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know when we're going to Canada, but I hope when this pandemic, I don't know if it's ever going to go away, but maybe it will just ease enough to allow people to get used to the idea that it's going to be around for a while, and we learn to maneuver within it.
It's going to become part of the atmosphere, like everything else, like the flu, I think, eventually.
Yeah, I think you're right, Hank. It's I just don't know.
Well, I'm so glad that this latest variant does not appear to be as deadly, although it's spreading faster. I think
that is the good news, though, Red, because it'll burn through things a lot quicker, and maybe we have a chance to go out before the next variant that's going to wipe out the dinosaurs.
Oh my goodness!
Well, Bill, you just said that selfishly you wanted to continue playing.
Yes.
And selfishly, we want you to continue playing.
Well, thanks. I'm glad that that's the case, George. And
Someone in the chat room
That's all.
echoed what I wanted to ask. Is there a Cielo Norte dos in the works?
There is not. However, there could be that something like that. But I wrote 20 songs with Robert Hunter. I've written 6 or 7 songs with Paul Muldoon, who just did the foreword for Sir Paul McCartney's book on his lyrics. Paul's a Pulitzer Prize winning poet. He's got some really great, wacky songs that we've written. I've been writing a lot. I've been writing as of late with Charlie Starr from Blackberry Smoke. We have 2 songs.
Nice.
So Little Feat's going to go out next year and play Waiting for Columbus, but we're definitely going to have another record. It's not going to just be all my songs. I expect to have a few on there, but there's no reason to go out and play Dixie Chicken again for the 100th time, whether we love doing it or not. The reason to have a group that we would call Little Feat as opposed to a Little Feat tribute, which the more cynical amongst us think of this adventure, is you write, you honor those that came before you, in this case, Richie, Lowell, and Paul, and which I think about a lot with all those guys. And but going back to where Lowell and I started this thing, which was let's keep an open look at it. I think people could do Little Feat without me, to be honest. They can do it without Paul or Richie or Lowell. You can certainly do it without me. So let's see where it goes in the future. But it's about music and a freedom of music. A Little Feat we're a band of musicians. I'll always be a musician, and that's where I live.
Very good. Well, while we've been going, I've had a poll up, and I think it's pretty clear where the poll is going. It is a very good song, Act 3. This one is from our friend Chris Cafiero, and I'm so grateful that Chris has shared so many of the songs that we feature on the Little Feat radio show, and he says it's okay for us to play them. I just got to give him credit. So there you go, Chris, and of course Hank as well for all his photos.
Absolutely. No, in fact, we've always surrounded ourselves with brilliant. Leon Park was we could start and stop with him basically, but no, the photography, the other creative people. This is what Little Feat is as well, as a creative endeavor, and we're blessed to be around a lot of good other creative folks that add to our vocabulary.
And I'm so grateful that you made this first tour back with Tony and Scott a by request tour, because this is one that I was really hoping you'd do.
Love is a perfect imperfection. Sometimes I'm happy, sometimes sad. Whenever love comes your direction, don't you hide away, don't you hide, don't you hide.
Yes, indeed. Perfect imperfection.
I had to look it up. I knew Paul wrote it, but I didn't know who he wrote it with. And it was Tom Snow.
Oh, very good.
It's and that again is that broad spectrum of music that people come into this band with. Paul was not only a great blues aficionado and could play anything on a blues level, but he loved jazz as well. And so he was more than capable of leading us down those wonderful paths. I guess I should just say it now. I'm not going to forget, but I want to say that the other really large quotient of what I do, what Little Feat does, is it's this connection with our fans. It's always been important, but the story behind that Trying to Grow thing, that lick, that da 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 da. I didn't want that lick to be on that record. And so I actually made him stop the tape, and I argued with him for a while. And I went to the back. I said, look, when I was a kid, called fourth grade, maybe fifth, but fourth grade certainly, I'd be asked to play at this assembly. And I would play this little kind of a Chinese, kind of song, get a standing ovation going from my seat because I go, Bill Payne will now play the piano. What am I going to play? Standing ovation after I play, go back to my seat. And I get on the playground and I get beat up like everybody else.
Oh, no.
And that's the beat up like everybody else is the point. You know, I take it, I know I'm a good musician. And I appreciate that I get the nod not only from the people that listen, but from other musicians as well. I mean, it's humbling, but I don't put on any airs when I'm around people. I don't know that I even have them. If I could develop them, maybe I'd set up some sort of a bridge between myself and some people out there. But most people are just lovely folks, and I really, really appreciate. I don't think of there's so many of you out there that I don't think of you. You may be fans, but I think of you, and you're included in this, Fred, as everybody on that screen up there that I know as friends. And that's a big difference. We've got a lot of friends and a lot of people that have. I've always said the worst thing anybody can do for me is encourage me.
Well, of course, you were very forward thinking when you started the whole grassroots movement and supporting the Hoy Hoy Digest, the list there. And of course, who knew that social media was going to explode? Here it is, that we're able to be together, and we're all in so many different places. And thank goodness that we'll be seeing each other in the future. And I'm so grateful for that. Thank you, Bill, for coming here tonight. I got to let you know we are approaching the end of our hour. And I see that, yes, there's feet prints.
Feet prints, yeah.
Ta-da.
And I would point out that there are at least 5, maybe 6 people in this group that are going to be in Nashville. There is a big giant gang that's going to Nashville. Bill, we're coming to see you, so watch out.
Well, I'm glad you said you're coming to see me and not coming to get me. So that's good.
There are so many shows you're coming to around the country. I just think it's great that we're going to be able to see you in the not too distant future. As I mentioned, we are approaching the end of our hour. Bill, I was going to let you pick this version of a song, but you say you're going to defer to the fans. I think I'm just going to play this one and ask for forgiveness later, if you don't mind.
That's the way it works, isn't it? Don't beg for permission, beg for forgiveness.
There you go. So here we go.
I said, come on, hold on real tight. We're gonna rock this boat all night. We're rocking all night. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Phil, you want to tell us what that was from?
That was the Albany show at the Egg, and we taped it. At any rate, it was the first taping of the band with a lot of cameras and a lot of thought put into it. And we went up there, and I think we did very, very well.
It's a great show, and I want to thank you for doing it for the fans. I enjoyed the live stream thoroughly. So thank you once again. Any comments or questions for Bill for the good of our fan community?
Well,
Good night, everybody.
keep it all over the map, Bill.
Thank
Will
you.
do, and
Keep it all over the map. Country, blues, rock and roll. Do it all.
we'll do it now. Thanks again.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you all so much, and we'll look forward to seeing you all out on the Proud Highway.